5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to piggyback on Mr. Mulvaney's comments because I share largely the same type of concerns that he brought up. So, Mr. Thompson, let me begin with you, and if you would, please just be as brief initially on some of these answers as possible. Let's just get to the basics. What's the purpose of the census?
There are three primary purposes. The first is to reapportion the Congress. The second is to support redistricting efforts at the state level. And the third is to allocate federal program funds. And okay. then there are other non-federal uses.
But that last one is really not part of the Constitution. We want to know how many people live here, bottom line. Is that true?
So I am not a constitutional lawyer. And I'm probably not the right person.
Okay, well, Article 1, Section 2 just says basically we need to know how many people are in the country. How many questions are on the census?
There are 10 questions on the decennial census.
Okay, and the census is required for citizens to respond?
Yes, it's mandatory under Title 13.
Okay, then shifting over to the American Community Survey, its purpose is totally different from the census, correct?
We consider the American Community Survey to be part of the decennial census program.
But it's asking totally different questions, so it has a totally different purpose.
It's asking primarily questions for federal funds allocation.
And how many questions are on there?
Approximately 70, between 70 and 75.
And is it required?
Yes, it's mandatory.
Okay. But you said a while ago that it's mandatory, but fines and jail time don't happen.
We have never administered required that.
So are those bogus threats?
Excuse me, Congressman?
If you've never produced a fine or put anyone in jail, and yet you say it's mandatory with the threat of going to jail or being fined, but that's never happened, are they bogus threats? I mean, you basically have admitted they're bogus threats.
We believe that the best way to get the American public to respond is to explain to them the value of responding to their community.
That's not the value of explaining it when you said you're going to go to jail or you're going to have a $5,000 fine. That says nothing about the value of the information. And it's bogus threats. It's putting fear in the American people to fill these things out. Are both of those, the census and the survey, sent to all American citizens?
The decennial census is sent to every American citizen. The American Community Survey is mailed to about 3.5 million households a year.
So 1 in 6. Is that approximate?
I think it's about 1 in 6 over a 5-year period.
Okay. And so we're trying to save money, but we're sending at least to 1 in 5, 1 in 6, 2 different forms, correct?
Exactly, Congressman.
And they have 2 different purposes, and several have discussed. I mean, it's of no concern for census purpose what kind of bathroom people use, or how much their salary is, or where they work, or do they have good hearing or poor hearing or sight. I mean, there's just a lot of questions for census purposes that are unnecessary in the. And part of my concern is not only the massive intrusion, in my opinion, of government in asking some of these questions, but then it comes to the cybersecurity issues. You've got, and particularly now that we're going to more digital, there's a lot of personal information that has nothing to do with the census that could potentially be made insecure. And this becomes a major concern. Mr. Lee, do you have confidence in the cybersecurity going into the 2020 census?
Yes, I do.
How in the world can you say that when the systems aren't even in place yet?
The cybersecurity controls that we do have across the enterprise, and let me say that I'm confident, but I'm never too confident. We're always looking to improve our security controls going forward.
You're confident in something that doesn't even exist yet. Ms. Harris, what is your assessment, the GAO's assessment of cybersecurity?
Well, I think it's difficult to effectively identify security measures that need to be in place for 2020 until that final IT solutions architecture is in place. So at this time, I can't tell you definitively the IT posture because, again, as you mentioned, the systems are not in place at this time.
So is your confidence in a scale of 1 to 10, where's your confidence?
It's probably at a it's probably at a 5 at this time, and I say that because the Bureau and with the leadership of Mr. Lee as well as Mr. Cooper have been actively addressing the 115 information security recommendations that we have made relative to access controls, for example, configuration management, and other things. And it was also because of the oversight of this committee where at the time of our November hearing, 66 recommendations were implemented. As of today, about 104 have been implemented, but there is still a significant amount of work that needs to be done to get to that remaining 50%, which is because the IT solutions architecture has not yet been fully finalized. And that needs to be done in order to identify the most effective IT security measures to be put in place for 2020.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've got a long ways to go to plug the hole, but I appreciate you holding this hearing. Thank you. I yield.
Thank the gentleman. Now recognize the gentlewoman from the